Chase Amex Capital One. You tap your card at the coffee shop, the reader trips green, and somewhere in an app, a little number ticks up. Points, miles, cash back. You just got paid to buy a latte. It's a strangely warm feeling. The bank isn't the villain taking your money. It's your quiet little partner, sliding a few cents back across the table every time you spend. Buy more, earn more, everybody wins, apparently. And that's the feeling the whole thing is built on. Free money. A perk that materializes from nowhere, just for doing what you were going to do anyway. But here's the little splinter in that story. Banks do not hand out money for nothing. They are not charities. Every points program, every cashback promise is costing someone real money right now. So who's actually footing the bill for your reward? Because it isn't the bank. So if the bank isn't handing you free money out of kindness, that cash is coming from somewhere. Every point you earn has to be paid for. The real question is by whom and how? Here's the short answer, and it's stranger than you'd guess. Your rewards are funded by a fee, a small toll that gets charged every single time your card touches a reader. That fee gets clipped off nearly every purchase you make. Groceries, gas, a coffee. Each swipe quietly triggers a charge that flows through the system and eventually circles back to fund your points. Now, the obvious assumption is that you pay this fee, you swiped, so you're footing the bill, right? That's the natural conclusion. And it's wrong. You never see this fee. It's not on your statement. It isn't added at the register. You pay the exact sticker price. The charge is billed to someone else entirely, quietly, in the background. So if a fee gets charged every time you tap, where exactly does that fee get born? To see it, you have to slow the whole thing down. Because the 2 seconds after you tap are not one event. They're a relay race between 4 players. Player 1 is you, holding the card. Player 2 is the merchant, the coffee shop hoping to get paid. Those two feel like the whole transaction, but they never actually touch each other's money. Between them sit 2 more players you never see. Player 3 is the merchant's bank, the one that installed the little terminal on the counter. Player 4 is your card's bank, the one that mailed you the plastic. Every swipe is a conversation between those two. You tap. The terminal wakes up and asks the merchant's bank a simple question. Is this card good for it? The merchant's bank doesn't know. It has never heard of you. So it passes the question up the line. The message races across a network to your card's bank, the only one that actually knows your account. It checks, does this person have room to spend? If yes, it sends back a single word, approved. Here's the part that surprises people. At the moment your receipt prints, no cash is actually moved. Your bank has simply promised the merchant's bank it's good for the money. The whole thing runs on a promise first. Dollars later. Later, quietly, the real money flows the other way. Your bank pays the merchant's bank. But it does not pay the full amount. It keeps a slice on the way through. And that missing slice is the whole reason we're here. So the money leaves your account at full price, races through those 4 parties, and lands in the merchant's till. Except it doesn't land whole. Somewhere along that path, a small slice gets quietly lifted off the top. That slice has a name. The interchange fee. It's a small percentage skimmed off the value of every single sale. And it happens automatically, in the same 2 seconds as the swipe, before the merchant ever sees the money. Percentage sounds tiny, a couple of pennies on the dollar, give or take. On one coffee, you'd barely notice it. But it's a toll on every transaction, everywhere, forever, and those pennies stack into something enormous. Here's the part that trips people up. You paid the sticker price, every cent of it. The merchant, though, receives less than that sticker price. The gap between what you paid and what they got is the fee. Nobody hands you a bill for it. There's no line on your statement. From your side, the transaction looks perfectly clean. You swiped, you paid, the number matched the tag. The fee lives entirely on the other side of the counter. Which raises the obvious question. If it isn't you being billed, and the merchant is the one coming up short, then who decided that slice should be lifted at all? And who gets to set exactly how big it is? So a slice of every sale gets skimmed before it lands. But somebody had to decide how thick that slice should be. And here's the odd thing. The company that sets the rate never actually holds the money. Say the names Visa and MasterCard, and most people picture a bank. They aren't. Neither one lends you a cent. Neither one funds your card. They don't hand you money. And they never see the bill you pay. What they actually run is a network, a set of rails connecting every bank on the buyer's side to every bank on the seller's side. When you tap, your message travels their wires. That's the product they sell. Think of a toll road. The road company doesn't own the cars or the cargo. It just controls the only bridge across. And it decides what crossing costs. Visa and MasterCard are the toll authority for money in motion. So they publish the interchange rates, big grids of them, worked out for every type of card and every kind of store. The banks agree to follow those rates as the price of using the rails. That's the toll schedule. And notice how clever that position is. They set the toll, everyone else collects and pays it, and the network simply takes its own small fee for running the road. The money keeps flowing. So where does the interchange actually end up? So the network sets the toll, but never pockets it. The money keeps moving past them, and it lands somewhere. Follow that fee to its resting place, and you find the bank that issued your card, holding the biggest slice. Of every fee skimmed from a swipe, the lion's share doesn't go to the network at all. It goes back to your issuer, the bank whose name is printed on your card. That is where the real money settles. Now, most of us assume banks make their card money one way: interest. You carry a balance, they charge you a painful rate, that is the profit. And for the customers who carry balances, sure, that matters a lot. But here's what most people miss. There's a whole class of cardholders who never pay a cent of interest. They clear the balance every month, on time, in full. On interest alone, that customer would be worthless to the bank. Except they're not worthless at all. Every time they swipe, that interchange fee lands in the bank's account, whether they carry a balance or not. The bank earns on the spending itself. The debt is optional. The fee is automatic. And that steady, spending-based river of fees is exactly what pays for your rewards. The points aren't a gift skimmed off interest you owe. They're funded by the cut the bank takes on the swipe, a slice handed back to keep you tapping. So if every swipe feeds that fee stream, the bank suddenly has a very clear wish. It doesn't just want you to carry the card. It wants you reaching for it, over and over, for absolutely everything. That is exactly what rewards are built to do. Every point, every little bonus category is a nudge designed to steer your hand toward one card instead of the 12 other ways you could have paid. Watch how the categories are shaped. Extra points on groceries, bonus points on dining, on travel, on gas. These aren't random gifts. They're aimed squarely at the things you spend the most on anyway. There's a quieter trick in the rounding too. Points make a big purchase feel a little softer, a little rewarded. Spend more, and the counter ticks up faster, so the bigger tab almost feels like the smarter move. And the math sits firmly on the bank's side. Each dollar you swipe throws off a sliver of fee income, so the whole reward exists to grow the one number the issuer truly cares about: how much you run through the card. So the points never really were a thank you for spending, they're the lure on the line. A small, glittering return handed back to keep you swiping for the far larger return flowing quietly the other way. But if the whole game is getting you to swipe bigger, then not every card can be worth the same to the bank, and it isn't. The flashy card in your wallet, the one with the metal heft, earns the issuer more on every single purchase. Here is where it gets clever. That swipe fee we followed earlier isn't one flat rate. The networks sort cards into tiers, and the higher the tier, the bigger the slice pulled from each sale. A plain, no-frills card sits near the bottom. It skims a modest cut. A loaded rewards card, the kind promising travel points and cash back, sits at the top, and it takes a noticeably fatter bite from the merchant. And that isn't an accident. The richer the rewards a card dangles, the more it has to feed back into those rewards. So the network prices its swipe fee higher to cover the perks it just promised you. So the shiniest card, the one that makes you feel most rewarded, is the exact one costing the store the most every time you tap it. The better your points, the heavier the toll on the sale. So the fancier the card, the fatter the fee the merchant swallows. And you might expect a shop owner to just look at that and say, no thanks, we won't take those. But here's the bind. When a customer reaches for a card at the register, the merchant has one of two answers: yes, or lose the sale. And a great many customers carry nothing else. Refuse the popular cards, and you don't just annoy one shopper. You quietly turn away a whole slice of foot traffic that expects to tap and walk out. For most stores, that's not a real choice. So the merchant takes the cards, all of them, and that swipe fee becomes a cost of doing business as steady and unavoidable as the rent or the lights. Now, a cost that big can't just vanish. It has to go somewhere. And a business only has one real lever to cover a persistent expense: the price on the shelf. So the fee gets folded into the sticker, quietly, invisibly, spread across everything on the shelves. The merchant doesn't send anyone a separate bill. The prices simply sit a little higher than they otherwise would. Here's the thing about baking that fee into the price. Once it's cooked in for everyone. The sticker at the register is the same, whether you tap a shiny rewards card or hand over crumbled cash. So the store raised its prices to cover the swipe fees. Fair enough. But the cash buyer never triggered a swipe fee at all. There was no card, no network, no cut skimmed off their purchase. And yet they pay the higher price too. The increase built to cover card fees lands on them just the same. They're chipping in for a machine they never plugged into. Now follow where that extra money actually goes. The fee it's covering is the same fee that, further down the line, gets recycled into rewards, points, cash back, that free airline mile. Which means the cash buyer is quietly helping fund somebody else's perks. The no rewards cardholder is too. They pay the padded price, but no points ever tick up in their corner. So the premium cardholder swipes, earns points, and walks out feeling like the bank handed them a gift. But some of that gift was funded by the person 2 spots back in line who paid cash. Nobody at the register knows this is happening. There's no line item, no announcement, just a price that quietly folded in a cost and split it across everyone, so the reward could flow to a few. But if the cash buyer quietly chips in, a natural question follows. Who exactly is chipping in the most, and who's collecting the reward at the other end? The direction of that flow turns out to be a little uncomfortable. Picture who carries the fanciest rewards cards. Broadly, the people approved for premium travel cards tend to have higher incomes and stronger credit. They spend more, so they earn the biggest points hauls. Now think about who leans on cash or a plain no reward card. Often that's shoppers on tighter budgets, the ones least likely to clear a premium card's approval bar in the first place. Both groups pay the same padded shelf price. The fee is baked in for everyone. Only one group swipes a card that hands part of that fee back as rewards. The other simply pays and walks away. Economists at the Federal Reserve looked hard at this. By their estimates, the reward system nudges money, on the whole, from lower income households toward higher income ones, and from cash users toward card users. A quiet upward transfer. It's the story backwards. The legend has the hero taking from the rich to give to the poor. Here the pipes run the other way, not by anyone's evil design, just by the plain arithmetic of who spends and who pays. If the money flows so lopsidedly, you would expect the people footing the bill to fight back. And they have. For decades, merchants have thrown lawyers, lobbyists, and lawsuits at these fees. The biggest swing was a sprawling class action. Millions of stores banded together, arguing the networks and banks fix swipe fees among themselves. By most accounts, the settlement reached into the billions. Lawmakers took a swing too. One reform capped the fee on debit cards specifically, forcing it down toward the actual cost of moving the money. On debit, and debit alone, the toll suddenly shrank. So why didn't that fix everything? Because the cap left credit cards untouched. Rewards cards, the expensive ones, kept charging exactly what they always had. The rule fenced off only one corner of the field. Merchants tried another route. Just charge cardholders a surcharge and let them feel the fee directly. But for years, the network rules flatly banned it. You could not pass the toll to the person triggering it. Even after lawsuits pried open the right to surcharge in many places, few stores actually do it. Slap a fee on a customer at checkout and watch them flinch. So the cost stays hidden inside the price. That is why the fees have proven so stubborn. 2 giant networks set the toll, banks depend on it, and the people paying can't see it. Every pressure point pushes on something the merchant doesn't control. So if merchants have fought this hard and mostly lost, you might wonder whether the fee is just a fact of nature. It isn't. In some parts of the world, regulators simply reached in and capped it. Europe did exactly that. Australia did it years earlier. Lawmakers looked at the toll, skimmed off every swipe, and said, from now on, it can only be a fraction of what American merchants pay. A ceiling set by rule. And here is where the whole machine reveals itself. The moment that fee shrank, the fuel behind the rewards shrank with it. Card issuers had less to skim, so they had less to hand back. So the fat rewards cards quietly thinned out. Generous cashback faded, lavish points programs became rare or vanished. Cards over there still work perfectly well. They just don't shower you with perks the way American cards do. That is the proof, hiding in plain sight. Cut the fee, and the rewards deflate almost in lockstep, which tells you the perks were never a gift from the bank. They were always a slice of that toll, quietly passed back. So when the fee shrinks, the reward shrinks with it, and once you see that link, the whole thing snaps into a single shape. Follow it all the way around, and it closes into a perfect loop. You swipe. A small slice of that sale peels off before the merchant ever sees the money. The merchant, needing to stay whole, nudges the sticker price up a touch for everyone who walks in. That slightly higher price flows through every customer, cash and card alike. It pools back at your bank as fee income, and a portion of that pool loops right back to you, ticking up your points counter as if from nowhere. That is the curious part. The points never fell out of the sky. They are your share of a fee that everyone at the checkout line quietly helped pay, handed back to you, wearing the costume of a gift. So what is the everyday thing you walk past and quietly wonder about? A price that never seems to move? A rule nobody explains? A fee on your bill? Drop it in the comments and subscribe so the next answer finds you.